Alright, how's it going, guys? Hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday and a good quarantine. Hopefully, you're not too bored, not too tired of your family right now. Um, and also, actually, it would be Mother's Day when you guys are when this video gets sent out. So make sure to wish your moms a happy Mother's Day. Um, yeah, I'm gonna get into our message. I'll be teaching out of John 11, and I'm just gonna I'm not gonna read it really. I'm just gonna summarize this story and then tell a little story about my life, about how I related to it. So Jesus is walking with his disciples. He's out and about. He's preaching to people. He's performing miracles, and he gets news that his friend Lazarus was sick in Bethany, which is a town pretty far away from where he was at the time. And so it was his good friend, and they're like, hey, shouldn't we go visit your friend in Bethany? And Jesus is like, actually, I'm going to stay here 2 more days and preach. And they're like, a little confused, but like, okay, I guess, I guess we can wait 2 more days. And so he's like, you know what, let's go back to Judea. And they're like, well, Jesus, they were trying to kill you in Judea. They were trying to persecute you there. And he was like, no, I want to go back to Judea. So everything Jesus is doing at this point to them isn't really making much sense. They go back to Judea, and um, that the next day, he gets news, and he tells his disciples that Lazarus has fallen sick, which at first they're like, oh, well, let's go. He says, he's fallen sick, and I'm going to wake him up. And they said, oh, well, you don't, you don't need to go there to, like, wake him up, right? Or they said he's fallen asleep. Sorry, he's fallen asleep, and I'm going to go wake him up. And they're like, well, does it need you to wake him up? And Jesus is like, no, what I really mean is that Lazarus is dead. He's passed away. And so, uh, yeah, he's like, all right, now we'll go there and I'll go wake him up. And they're like, well, Jesus, it's too late. Why did you stay in Judea 2 more days? Again, everything Jesus is doing to them is just not really making sense right now. And he's like, and Jesus kind of shrugs it off. He's like, no big deal. I'll just go wake him up. And they're like, but Jesus, he's dead. You can't bring someone back from the dead. And so they went to Bethany, where Lazarus had been dead for 4 days at this point. So Lazarus has now been dead for 4 days. They're thinking, there's no way you can bring him back from the dead. Like, what are you talking about? You're just gonna wake him up? Like they were confused by his wording. And so Jesus goes back there, and well, he rose Lazarus from the dead. 4 days. He removed him from his tomb. He brought him out, and he raised him from the dead. He just was like, hey, Lazarus, get up. Wake up. And so everyone's obviously, like, everyone's just in amazement at this, but they're like, what in the world? Like, and at first when he went there, they were all doubting him and saying, wait, you can't bring him back from the dead. What are you doing? And he just brought him back. And so Jesus was doubted many times before this. Everyone was questioning his decisions. They were like, what are you doing? I don't trust what you're doing. But he stuck to his plan and delivered. He said, no, I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna wake him up. I'm gonna bring him back from the dead. And even though it didn't look totally right in their minds, it didn't look the way that they wanted it to go, he delivered his promise. And so in our lives, there's many times when Jesus has a different plan than we expect, but he always delivers, and he always wants the best for us. So he always sticks to his promise. And even though that's going to look a little bit different for us, we all have this, like, set plan of, I'm going to do this, and this is going to happen, this is how it's going to work out. But as we see in this story, he could have gone there before Lazarus has died and just healed him from being sick. But he said, no, Lazarus is going to pass away, and I'm going to go and I'm going to wake him up and bring him back from the dead. And so I have a story in my life where I felt like this kind of similar situation kind of happened to me. I mean, obviously no one got brought back from the dead, but my cousin was in like some like legal trouble pretty much, where she was falsely accused of something. And this happened a couple of years ago, and we were like, all right, like, well, she'll just go to that's fine. Like, already we were like doubting, like, if God's going to promise, because we're like, how did this situation even happen in the first place? But then we're like, all right, well, she'll go to court and, the judge will say, no, you're not guilty. So they went to the judge and he's like, all right, hold off. We're going to hold off the trial. And basically, time and time again, we went back and the judge said to us, we're going to hold back this trial. We're going to push it back to a further date. And nearly 3 years later, finally the judge said, no. Like, she's like, you're not guilty, you're innocent, and we're not even going to take this to trial. And so, to us, we were like, we were obviously stoked, and we're still just like completely happy about this and like celebrating this, but at the same time, we're like, how come he couldn't have done that earlier? And it's just because Jesus, what God wants for our lives, he wants the best for us, but it's just going to look different to him than it will for us. And so that's what I want you guys to remember in your lives, is that, Jesus, his plan for you is going to look a little bit different sometimes. It's not going to be, your little tic-tacky plan of how you think everything is going to work out, but in the end, he delivers on his promise, and he wants the best for you. So remember that. Have a great Mother's Day.